All right, so you've been checking out the bosun role on RoleCatcher. Must mean you're looking for a career that's a little bit different
A little bit, yeah.
than your average 9 to 5. And when you hear bosun, it's hard not to think of, well,
Pirates.
yeah, exactly, pirates. But I think we're about to go a little deeper than that, right?
Absolutely. While the term might bring to mind those swashbuckling adventurers, the modern-day bosun on a fishing vessel, it's a much more complex and vital role.
Okay, you've got my attention.
Hmm.
So according to the guide, what is it that makes a bosun so essential to a fishing operation? What do they actually do?
It's a lot more than just knots and ropes.
Right.
It's about being the linchpin of the whole operation. They're responsible for making sure that everything runs smoothly and efficiently, from carrying out orders from superiors to the maintenance and repair of all the fishing gear. We're talking massive nets, long lines, powerful winches. Yeah, all that stuff has to be in perfect working order.
Right. It's all starting to come together now. So they're not just taking orders, they're also making sure that the equipment is up to the task. Because I imagine any downtime
Oh, absolutely.
affects the entire operation.
Absolutely. Any downtime equals lost fishing time, which directly impacts the success of the entire fishing expedition.
Okay, so what happens when the catch is actually on deck? Then what?
Yeah, that's where it gets really interesting. The bosun supervises the sorting and processing of all those fish. They're the ones making sure that everything's being handled according to those strict hygiene and safety regulations.
That's something I never would have thought about, but it makes sense. I mean, those standards are more important now than ever, especially with,
Absolutely.
consumers really caring about where their seafood comes from and how it's handled.
Absolutely. Consumers today, they're more conscious than ever about the quality and the sustainability of their seafood.
Hmm.
And the bosun, they play a direct role in meeting those expectations.
It's like the link between what happens out on the open water and what ends up on
Yep.
people's plates.
Precisely. Their
Yeah.
commitment to hygiene. It's not just about following the rules, it's about ensuring the quality of the catch and protecting the reputation of the whole fishing operation.
Yeah.
It's really a fascinating blend of hands-on skills and a broader understanding of the whole industry.
So it's not just the doing, it's the knowing why you're doing it that's important.
Exactly.
It's pretty impressive how much responsibility falls on the bosun's shoulders. So how does someone actually move up the ranks in this role? What does RoleCatcher tell us about building a career as a bosun?
Well, the guide actually breaks it down really nicely. They have 3 distinct career stages: entry-level, intermediate, and senior. Each stage kind of reflects the experience and the increasing responsibilities you take on as you progress.
Like leveling up in a video game, but in real life on the open ocean. So what did those different levels actually look like in practice? What are some examples?
So at the entry level, think of it as well. You're really learning the ropes, literally and figuratively. You're assisting the more senior crew members. You're getting a feel for the different fishing gear, like those huge nets, the long lines. And you're observing how the bosun interacts with the rest of the crew, especially during those crucial decision-making moments. It's all about mastering the basics and, getting into the rhythm of life on board.
So lots of observation, lots of hands-on experience, building that foundation. And then what happens at the intermediate level? What does that look like?
That's when things start to get really interesting because you're not just following instructions anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You're the one who's organizing the crew. You're making sure that the maintenance tasks are being done correctly. And you might even be mentoring some of those newer crew members who are just starting out.
Yeah.
It's a big step up from just taking orders. It requires leadership and a deep understanding of those safety and hygiene protocols we talked about earlier.
Yeah, it's one thing to learn the rules. It's another thing to make sure everyone else is following them and to understand why they're so important. And the example they give in the guide for an intermediate bosun is someone who's already organizing the crew, overseeing maintenance, even mentoring others. That's a pretty far cry from the image I had at the beginning of this. So tell me, what does that jump from intermediate to senior bosun actually look like?
Okay, so you've painted a really vivid picture of what it takes to be a bosun. But now for the big question, what about the job market? Is this a field that's actually hiring, or are these specialized roles hard to come by?
Well, the guide actually says that the fishing industry, it's a demanding field, but they also say there's a pretty stable employment outlook with a consistent need for skilled bosuns. So if you're looking for job security and you don't mind hard work, this could be a good fit.
Job security is definitely appealing, but I have to admit, thinking about the work environment, all I can picture is,
Rough seas.
yeah, exactly, rough seas, long hours. Does the guide talk about that at all? It does. The pros and cons section is actually really interesting. It's very upfront about the physically demanding nature of the work. You're going to be working long hours, exposed to the elements, sometimes in really challenging conditions. Think battling a storm in the North Atlantic, working through the night to haul in a massive catch. It's not for the faint of heart.
Definitely not your average desk job. But you mentioned there are rewards too. What are some of the things that draw people to this line of work despite those challenges?
Well, there's something to be said for being physically active, being constantly challenged. And then there's the potential for travel, going to different fishing grounds. And of course, there's the satisfaction of working with a team to achieve a common goal, bringing in that catch. It's hands-on work with tangible results, which appeals to a lot of people.
It's not always easy, but it sounds incredibly rewarding. And speaking of being prepared, RoleCatcher also has those interview prep resources, right? Given everything we've learned about the level of responsibility, those could be really helpful.
Absolutely. Being prepared is key. And the questions they put together are really comprehensive.
Yeah.
They cover everything from safety procedures and how to handle conflict resolution to, managing a diverse crew and ensuring compliance with all the regulations. It's a great resource for anyone who's serious about this career path.
It really seems like RoleCatcher has thought of everything to help you figure out if this is the right career for you, and if it is, to really set you up for success. So there you have it, folks, our deep dive into the world of bosuns. It might not be the most glamorous job, but as we've heard, it's a vital one requiring a unique combination of skills, experience, and a whole lot of grit. And it makes you appreciate, where your seafood comes from and the hard work that goes into getting it to your plate. So until next time, happy sailing.